Shalom. First and foremost, when all praises and glory and honor is due to Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim Kabadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noise in his gospel, broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is just a lesson through the spirit. I know it was this recent video that the Sakari had put out, and that we've been kind of going back and forth over this point for some time about the hats, the baseball caps, and how they're not to be presented during the ministry or speaking or teaching, because they're going back into Greek customs. Well, they are Greek customs, and it's just a disrespect to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, which is the head, our head, and our Savior Yahweh Shai, to cover our head while we're out there speaking on the streets, man. Now, it's one thing we've learned the way of the Greeks being here in America, because America is nothing but the Greco-Roman empire all wrapped up into one conglomerate. So from the shoes to the clothes, like Nike, you know what I'm saying? The guy Nike, going back into the particular shoes we wear, the jogging fits, fitted hats, baseball caps, and, hey, I wear baseball caps, you know what I'm saying? But I do it in an appropriate time. Okay, you would never catch me teaching or prophesying with a baseball cap over my head. And then they justify it by saying, well, that ain't talking about that. But when you look at the context of scripture in the chapter of 1 Corinthians, the 11th chapter, and you understand what it's going into, it is indeed talking about covering or uncovering your hair. Okay, because it would make an account. It wouldn't make it account into men having long hair if it wasn't talking about a covering of the head. But see, they try to spin it. They do a lot of deflecting, and they do a lot of what they call divisive tactics. They kind of reflect to be overly technical of a point. Like, even if in a spiritual sense it's talking about not covering your head holy while speaking the word, they will go into historical points and try to twist things to make it seem like, well, that was talking about a particular time, or that's what that meant for that particular instance. But it doesn't say that we can't cover our head. You see, they like to get overly technical with that, which is wicked as hell, because that's that spirit of debate. But even then, let's just say if that even wasn't the case, and covering your head was lawful while speaking, because the high priest, they didn't do that shit. Okay, the high priest didn't do that. But regardless of it, let's just say if that wasn't the case, why do you make a point to covering your head anyway? Because to me, it seems like it's just an outright form of rebellion towards the elders and the apostles and the men of the great millstone. Okay, it's just like, even if you could wear, they make a habit to wear, okay, let me throw my baseball cap on while I'm teaching the word. Like, that's not even spiritual, man. And that's not even a proper priestly attire. And we do get it. We all wear baseball hats and fitted hats, man. I got a ton of fucking hats, but overall, it's appropriate time to wear these things. But they really were never our customs, to be technically honest. Those were Greek customs that we learned under the heathen. But we understand we are in the place of our captivity. And it's not about being saved off the works of the law. Okay, but at the same time, just because you are not being delivered by the works of the law, that doesn't give you the right to go against the customs of the law. Okay, so I have an article here. I got a couple of precepts. It says, Ancient Greeks Hats, Headwear, and Antiquity. All right, so I actually have two articles on this, because I got something that goes into Patassos as well, which was basically... it says, is a broad brim hat of Thessalonian origin worn by ancient Greeks, Thracians, or Etruscans, which those Etruscans, I believe they go back to Japhetic peoples. It says, often in combination with the communist cape. So if you're familiar with like a lot of times farmers, when they out in the field, they got like straw hats, or when you got like those dusters, like that those ancient gunslingers used to wear back in the 1800s. They wear the big brim hats and the big duster coats, which look like big capes. Like if you ever saw the movie Jeepers Creepers, right? He had on like one of them, it's called a duster, and he had like on one of the brim hats. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of goes back into this whole Patassos meeting, if that make any sense. But let's get a precept. Let's go through the book of 1 Corinthians 11th chapter. And let's start here at verses 1. Okay, matter of fact, let's go to the King James Version. And we're going to pull up the New Living Testament on the other side, okay? So let's read in the King James Version, 1 Corinthians 11:1. Now, this is the words of Paul, who we know a lot of men out there, they pick and choose on whether they want to deal with Paul's epistles or not when it's convenient for them. How hypocritical, right? But it says, be followers of me as I am of Yahushai. But it says Christ here, right? It says, but now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things and keep the ordinance as I delivered them unto you. Okay, so let's look up the word ordinance, right? So we do everything for edification. Hold on 1 second. Salaki.
I'm not guaranteeing that this is what the problem is, whatever. I'm just showing you this. See how it's freaking like, so, you know, it's all black tarnished there? So you can slap lightly on there like that. So you get back on the no. So I'm just going to follow around there, like this little rust spot there. I'm just going to go all around there and see if this is acting so back. And then that shit there will make this thing like uneven. It's the same. So that's where I was just showing you. That's how tarnished that is. That could be as simple as your problem is. I've seen it done. You know, I'm going to fix that up there and reset it. If it comes back on, what I would refer to you to do is call a shop that freaking that could run a smoke or something, like run smoke test on it. Yeah. If not, I'll have to go and see what she can do. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
because like on some for real shit too though, like if that doesn't fix the problem and they replace that canister valve, which wasn't a cheap fix, I'm gonna have to. I mean, she gonna have to figure something out regarding that anyway, because I don't want to just go waste some more money.
I mentioned like something to her. I mean, I didn't say you, so you're all pissed off about it. So that you said something to me, she might say something to her.
Yeah. So she kind of know already.
So I was like, yeah, he's kind of stuff. Was like, hey, so I replaced that for your part. And you fit that money for nothing. I was like, well, yeah, kind of in a certain way. I was like, I couldn't tell him, so I blew it off there. Yeah, so also like, after I do this, so what? Honestly, I feel like he's done until the light comes back on.
Yeah. I'll go highlight in a minute. All right. Fucking shots, man. Everything's a fucking money raking racket, Slocky. But anyway, going back to here, so let's look up the word ordinance, right? Let's look up ordinances. Slocky about that. So the ordinance, right? Ordinance goes to ordinance, what it called paradosis, right? Which should go into like a law or commandment. Now it says giving up or giving over, act of giving up. It says giving over, which is done by the word of mouth and writing. Okay, and wasn't a law, statutes, and commandments written. They were given orally, then they were written on tablets. Okay, when Moses received the commandments from Yahweh Bashem, Yahushai. Okay, it says mouth or in writing, tradition, instruction, narrative, or precept. We know precept goes into laws. Okay, it says objectively that which is delivered, the substance of teaching, of the body of precepts, ritual, which in the opinion latter Jews orally delivered by Moses and orally transmitted in unbroken successions to subsequent generations of precepts, both illustrating and expanding the written law, okay, as they did to be obeyed with equal reverence. So let's just say if this wasn't necessarily a law written down, it says it is to be obeyed with equal reverence, because hey, if he said ordinance, then that means that that's law. Okay, see, Jake tries to get around that because Jake likes to be rebellious, man. And that's the whole point. And this is why the Most High is getting ready to make a move on. That's why scriptures say that judgment should start in the house of Israel first, man, because Jake is just wicked, man. You know what I'm saying? It's all about being deep and all about, who rules the crowd? Look, at the end of the day, if you're not trying to wake up the hopeful elect and bring them true understanding and back to the Heavenly Father through His Son, then you ain't doing the work of the Most High, man. Okay, all that cute debating shit. Man, look, man, that's folly. It's like, what are you trying to do? Win a debate to win numbers, or are you trying to win over souls for real? Because you can be a good debater, but if you got an empty spirit and not a righteous spirit, then the Lord ain't dealing with that. Give a damn how many precepts you know. You could quote the precepts 7 times backwards. The Most High don't give a damn about that. Okay, so ordinance. All right, but it says, delivered unto you, but I would have you to know that the head of every man is Yahushai, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Yahushai is Yahweh. And every man praying or prophesying with his head covered dishonoreth his head. Okay, so let's look up the word head. Okay, which goes to Kalefe, which means the head of both men and women, since the loss of the head destroys life. So this is a head. The word is used in the phrase relating to capital or extreme punishment. Okay, of a person, master's lord, husband, things of cornerstone. So you have different definitions of head. Okay, but you would say, well, that's talking about a higher deity, and the whole point about it is, but the scriptures goes into not covering your head, you know, because Jake like to use certain definitions to try to trip you up, because head can mean different things. It's like world, it means different things in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? It means different things. So you can't really be simple. But it says, every man praying or prophesying having his head covered dishonoreth his head. And it reads here, and it says, and every woman that prayed to prophesy with her head uncovered dishonored her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven. So if it wasn't talking about a physical head or a crown, why did it say she should be shaven? Because we understand that covering your head or a covering or hair is a covering for women. It says, for if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. It says, for a man indeed not ought to cover his head, for as much as he is the image of the living power. But the woman is the glory of the man. For the man is not the glory of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. For this cause ought the woman have the power. It says, for this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels. Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man, but in the Lord. Okay, and I want to jump down a little bit anyway. But it says, for as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of Yahweh. But judging yourselves, is it comely for a woman to pray to Yahweh uncovered? It says, does it not teach you nature that itself, that if a man have long hair, it is a shame to him? And this is why Alazar, they negate these scriptures, because if you read this is a straight cut to them. But see, they have to do away with it and say, well, that ain't talking about that because that ain't law. So that's the way they could try to wiggle in there. But the scriptures say that all scriptures are profitable for reproof and correction, and all word is inspired by the words of the Heavenly Father. All right. But it says here, but if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her head is given her, or for her hair is given her for a covering. But if any man seems to be contentious, we have no such customs, neither the churches of the Most High, man. So that wasn't our custom to begin with. All right, so going here, 16 in the New Living Testament says, but anyone wants to argue about this, I simply say that we have no other customs than this, and neither do Yahweh Shai or Yahweh's other churches, man. Okay, so that's the point. So I wanted to get that in Salakia for getting distracted, man. Mechanic had asked me a question. But anyway, so now that we have some understanding on that, let's go into this article here of Patassos and how the Greeks, during the time of Jason and I believe Onias, the high priest, basically they was required to wear hats, man, during the time of the Maccabees after the death of Antiochus. But it says Patassos is a broad-brimmed hat of Thessalonian origin worn by ancient Greeks, Thracians, or Etruscans. It says often in combination with the Combi's cape. It said it was made of wool, felt, leather, straw, or animal skin. It says women's versions had a high crown while those for men featured a lower crown. It said it was worn primarily by farmers, travelers, and hunters, and was considered characteristics of rural people. Like when you go out like into the farm areas and stuff like that, you see a lot of those farmers, they had like the straw hats on to keep them covered from the sun, you know, and they had a little pipe in their mouth and they had a little straw hat on. It's all that this goes back to. All right, but it was never a custom of the Israelites. But it says as a winged hat, it became a symbol of Hermes, the Greek mythological messenger of God. Okay, going back into the Greek god Hermes, you can look it up. It says along with Peleus, Patassos was among or the most common hat worn in ancient Greece. It said it was wide brim, protect from the wearer in the suns and the rain, while a lengthy strap allowed the wearers to secure it under the chin. It says its popularity later extended to the Etruscans, which I believe the Etruscans were Japhites, if I'm not mistaken. Slack if I'm off on that. But it reads here, Etruscans and the Byzantine Empire and the Roman Empire in slightly modified form. So Jake kept this custom all the way from the Greeks, because remember, the Greek Empire took place before the Byzantine Empire. All right, it says a type of metal helmet worn by the Athenian cavalry was made in the shape of Patassos. And we know that the Athenians goes back to the Greeks. But it says some examples have holes around the outer edge of the brim, presumably so a fabric cover will be attained. These are known from reliefs and vase paintings, with at least one archaeological example found from the Athenian tomb. Okay, so these are galleries here. Look like what they call what you call that? Looks like what they call what you call them damn things, man. Those bucket hats, you know, that Jake wears in the summer. Okay, and I mean, honestly speaking, yeah, there's like a bucket hat, and you see women they wear that shit too. You know, like a lot of times when you go to like the weddings or particular little ceremonies, you'll see the Jake woman with the old woman with the big hat on her head. That goes back into the god of Hermes, okay, which is a heathenistic custom. All right, the Greeks did this shit. This was never originally our custom. All right, for Jake that's trying to spin it. So it says ancient Greeks hats, headwear, and antiquity.
Is this locked?
And it reads here, it says, when we think of ancient Greece, the stereotypical image is often that of the wise philosopher in flowing white robes or hoplite and gleaming bronze armor. But the ancient Greeks also wore a variety of hats, both for form and function. It says, beyond serving a practical or stylistic purpose, ancient Greek hats also were often acted as marks of profession, social status, or national belonging. It says some design even inspire helmet adaptations for military use. Like when you go into the military today, they got bulletproof helmets. It says the ancient Greeks devised some of these designs themselves, whereas others they adopted from their other civilizations of antiquity with whom they traded and fought in equal measure. It says, although most ancient Greek hats have long since gone out of fashion, traces of their influence still exist today. Okay, and like I said with the baseball cap, go here. Baseball caps. Yeah, this is just a modern day Greek custom. This is a modern day Greek custom here. That's why, like when you see the teams, like you got the Arrows, you got the New York Yankees, Chicago Bulls, the Nike, all that shit, all that goes back into Greek customs, man. Okay, that's all this is. The brim hats, straw hats, whatever you want to call it. Just all this Greek customs. And don't get it twisted. Most Jake men I wear these. You know what I'm saying? But it goes with my outfit. I don't wear it because it's, you know what I'm saying, it's just being rebellious. But that's just the kind of attire everybody wears today. But you would never catch me with my garment on or with the priestly attire on wearing a fucking fitted hat, bro. That just shit don't even look right. What do I look like with a big garment on out there? You know what I'm saying? And wearing a hat on my head. Now you could get as technical as just cutting you know what I'm saying? You want to cut it around the top to expose the crown. However, man, but at the end of the day, it's just not traditional. Okay, it doesn't look traditional. Okay, and it's not traditional. Because Jake like to get stupid. All right, so did the ancient Levites cover their heads? Priests. Because you got different accounts on this, and times the priests covered their heads. Like a lot of times, man, like when we went in and did like the Holy of Holies, and you went into the Holy of Holies, which is the atonement. You go into the atonement for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. I don't recall us having to cover our head, but people will use Leviticus 10:6 as a justification, but that's not so. All right. So let's go from here, because like you got priestly attire, you got mitris, you know what I'm saying, that can cover the entire head. You have mitris, you have things like that, but overall you didn't catch any priests in the temple with a damn fitted hat on, man, or any type of heathenistic customs. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Okay, because at times you did have priests that had to cover their heads for particular rituals and particular ceremonies and stuff like that, but overall it was not a custom that we take out to the custom of the Greeks. Okay, the Greeks wasn't even set up during the time of the Levitical priesthood. But anyway, this is 2 Maccabees 4:1. It says now, or it said this Simon now, it's a lot of distractions around me, but it says this Simon now, of whom we spake before, having been a betrayer of the money and his country slander Onias, as if he had terrified Heliodorus and had been the worker of these evils. Okay, and it says, thus he was bold to call him a traitor that had deserved well of the city and tendered his own nation and was so zealous of the laws. But it says, but when their hatred went so far that by one of Simon's faction murders were committed, Onias, seeing the danger of his contention, and that Apollonius, as being the governor of Cilicia and Phoenix, did rage and increase Simon's malice. Okay, because that was contention there. It says, but he went to the king not to be an accuser of his countrymen, but seeking the good of all, both public and private. But he saw that it was impossible that the state should continue quiet, and Simon leaves his folly unless the king did look thereunto. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus, called Epiphanes, took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, and I misspoke earlier when I mentioned I misspoke when I said the death of Antiochus Slakia meant Seleucus. But when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason, brother of Onias, labored underhand to be nigh to be high priest, promising unto the king intercession 360 talents of silver and other revenue 80 talents. But besides this, he promised to assign 150 more, if he may have license to set him up a place of exercise, which is gymnasiums, and for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen, and write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians. So basically they was being called from Israelites, or Jews as they call them, or Israelites, and they wanted to call them Antiochians, just like we call Americans today, or Greeks, or Romans, or however you want to call it. All right, it says here, it says called them. It says and called them Antiochians, which when the king had granted, and he had gotten his hand into the rule, to forward brought his own nation to Greekish fashion. Okay, Greekish fashion. There you go, Greekish fashions. Baseball caps. Damn. Baseball caps. This is Greekish fashion right here, man. Okay, even the jumpsuits and shit, the gym shoes we wear, man, all Greekish fashions. Even the emblems on these cars all goes back into particular gods, man. Greek gods, Roman gods. Going back into the Babylonians, man, the Syrians. These are all Greekish fashions here, which was not a custom, as we just read in Corinthians. But it says, which when the king granted, he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to a Greekish fashion, and the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by means of John, the father of Apollonius, who went ambassador to Rome for amenity and to aid, and he took away and putting down the governments which were according to the law. He brought up new customs against the law. Ooh, okay, which proves that fitted hats, or whatever you want to call, technically will be against the quote-unquote law, as they will say. But it says, for he buildly glutted a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection, and made them wear a hat. Okay? And you don't think Israelites was caught up in that custom? Of course. Okay, now it says, now such was of the height of Greek fashions, and increased the heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest, that the priest had no courage to serve anymore at the altar, which proves that the priest didn't engage in that shit. Okay, because they knew that was all, that wasn't a custom, that wasn't according to the customs. But it says the priest had no courage to serve anymore at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifice. And a lot of them went off. They went off and they started keeping in abominable works as the heathen. So they stopped dealing with the ordinance of Yahweh, and they merged over to the Greek, or they became citizens, or they became one and thought as of Greeks, man. All right? But it says the priest had no courage to serve anymore at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifice, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise, after the game of discus called forth, not settling by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. So we could close the book on that, which proves hats are a Greekish custom, and it's not about law. It's not our custom. So these guys are law, but yet they're not they're not establishing the law as they claim to be. It's just a tit for tat with them guys, man. Okay, so Salakia, man, some of my information got mixed up, but you get the point. The priest never dealt with this shit, man. Okay, it was off, and yet this guy's a chief high priest. So I mean, I don't know, man. You know, Jake is weird out here, man. You know, certain things is just looking real iffy. But hey, we're gonna keep doing what we do, man. All right. Well, last precept. This is the book of Romans 3, and I'm gonna start at verses 29. It says, "Is he the God of the Jews only?" It says, "Is he not also of the Gentiles?" Yes, of the Gentiles also, which those are Israelites. We agree on that. But seeing it is one power which should justify the circumcision by faith and uncircumcision by faith, which means that it's all through faith. It says, do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid we establish the law. So clearly we're not telling anybody to break the law. But at the same time, you ain't catching us out there with with the snapbacks on, man. You know, I throw the snapback on after you know what I'm saying, I get done doing the work. But then you could say, well, why you wearing the snapback then, period? I mean, we could go tit for tat on that all day. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it says that we're going to be justified through faith. You know, because, I mean, we're not really walking around with our priestly attire, even the garments we wear at camp. But we make a best thing to do. You know, we do the best we can. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Lord's will you will edify to the next lesson. Shalom.